Hello, everyone. I'm here with Jana Burnham. She is the ministry coordinator for the USA Canada NYI at the Global Ministry Center. And I'm really excited to get to talk to her. We've been friends through the Global Ministry Center for a few years now, and I'm just really excited to hear more of your story and what God's been doing in your life. So, with that, we'll jump right in. If you wouldn't mind, Jana, tell us about you, your testimony, your call to ministry, how you ended up where you are.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the Nazarene church. My parents are incredible lay members and have been my entire life. And so grew up going to church, loved Jesus at an early age. And then when I was in middle school, junior high, is what we called it at the time, but was on a youth retreat and just really began to solidify and own my relationship with Jesus. I remember my youth pastor at the time even talking about letting Jesus out of the box and letting him go nutty in my life. So it was kind of at that moment where I just completely surrendered my life to the Lord and have really been on that trajectory ever since. I thought I would follow my parents' footsteps and be in education, public education, until I went to NYC in 1999 in Toronto, Canada. And it was there I really began to, I won't say sense God, because I think he'd been talking to me before that, but I really began to embrace and accept the call that God was placing on my life for youth ministry. And so kind of began to walk down that path of what that might be like, not having parents in pastoral ministry. I didn't really know exactly what that would look like. And I also think at the time I was a female and I didn't know a lot of female youth pastors. And so I remember having conversations with God about, but I am a girl and I am not athletic and I'm not loud and I don't like to eat gross things, all the things that I thought must be required to be a youth pastor, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it turns out that if God calls you, he'll equip you and maybe not necessarily to do those things. I still don't like to eat gross things and I'm still not super loud or athletic. So those things don't apply. But followed his leading. I had a youth pastor and his wife who believed in me, and as well as our senior pastor, and gave me opportunities to serve right there in as a student, as a teenager, lead in my youth group, and kind of get a feel for what pastoral ministry might be. I attended Mid-American Nazarene University and majored in youth and family ministry. And even then, and upon graduation, wasn't really sure what that would look like, right? I had some life circumstances, life events. I spent 3 months in Brazil volunteering with some Nazarene missionaries there. Was in the process, of falling in love and getting engaged and married. My mother-in-law was sick. So all of these things, like, didn't land me in a church ministry setting full time right away. And so kind of had to figure out what that path was. It maybe wasn't the path that I thought. But in the meantime, I had jobs in administrative, in office and marketing settings. And so while at the time weren't necessarily fun, and I was sometimes wondering why God had me there, I can look back and see that I used those in ministry. So all that to say, we ended up, my husband and I, moving to Colorado to be close to his family. And I thought, no, this is the chance. I'm going to be a youth pastor now. I'm going to find a church that will hire me. And that was harder than I thought.
Yeah.
Trying to stay within our Nazarene tribe and didn't have experience. And
Mhm.
maybe because I was a female, I don't know, had a hard time kind of finding a spot to serve in full-time ministry. But eventually I did. I was a youth pastor and administrative pastor for 10 years in Colorado. I served on the district and field levels in NYI too, and it was a dream job. I loved it. And love
Wow.
students and getting to encourage them, love them, point them to Jesus, and help them discover what their relationship with Jesus might look like. And
Awesome.
then we had some transitions at our church with pastoral staff and different things on the district and at our local church. And so I ended up about 6.5 years ago back here in Kansas City, where I'm originally from, serving in the USA Canada regional office.
Awesome. Awesome. And you said you've been here 6.5 years?
Yes, we moved back in 2018.
Great. And you've been with NYI the whole time.
I
Oh,
have.
that's so great. I love
Yep.
that.
We'll be right back with the rest of this episode. But did you know you can receive credit for listening to Holiness Today podcasts? Holiness Today podcasts qualify for lifelong learning with the Church of the Nazarene. To register for lifelong learning, simply go to learning.nazarene.org. The Lifelong Learning Registry provides Nazarene ministers the opportunity to record and report their efforts to develop and maintain a pattern of lifelong learning. Every Nazarene minister is encouraged to engage in a variety of lifelong learning activities. The code for Holiness Today podcast will be listed in the show description. This code can be utilized for this episode and any previous episode you wish to listen to. Thank you for being a listener and sharing in the ministry of the Church of the Nazarene. Now back to the rest of your episode.
Okay, so you mentioned you're back here, you're working for the Global Ministry Center. Can you talk a little bit about what that ministry looks like right now? I know you've got a big event coming up in the near future. You can talk about it if you'd like.
Yeah, for sure. So my role as ministry coordinator, I work with all of our events that we do in USA Canada NYI. So our annual leadership conference, of course, NYC Nazarene Youth Conference. But I also get to just connect with and encourage and equip youth leaders, both volunteer and paid, across our region. And I love getting to meet them and interact with them. It doesn't happen on a daily basis, but through NYI Connect and some other initiatives and partnerships that we have, as well as at our events, I'm getting to connect with them. So I love that. And I do get to work on NYC too. So that's always really fun.
Mm.
It was an event that transformed my life. And so to be able to give back to that event and serve and set it up to be transformational for students is just really fun.
Yeah, I went to NYC. I would have been '07 in St. Louis.
Okay.
Loved it. I've gone back for working as staff, but it's one of my favorite Nazarene events. So
Yes.
it's great. Shout out to all you students who are listening.
Yes.
You should go.
Sure.
Okay, can you tell us about one of your favorite things or your favorite memories, stories since working with NYI?
Yeah. It actually, I think, has to do with NYC, of course, I guess, no shocker there. But I would say my favorite moments, I have two of them so far, and I'm anticipating a third one on July 2nd of 2026. But it's that opening session of NYC. So when I was in Phoenix, I remember being in the upper bowl and looking down, and at Tampa Bay, I was in a spot with some city leaders that were there to check it out. But just experiencing the excitement and the anticipation that's in the room, and it builds the closer the countdown gets to that opening session, right? And so by the time that first worship song gets, oh man, definitely to the chorus, I am bawling, right? It's a moment where God's lifted up in the space and among thousands of students and Nazarenes, but it's so much more personal for me because I think in that moment, I feel seen by God, and I'm reminded that, well, I'm probably already exhausted at that point, right? But all the hours and all the work and all the challenges that have been overcome to get to that point, yeah, it's just a reminder to me of how faithful God is and that He shows up. I think about how much I care about NYC and how it's so like personal for me. But in that moment, I'm always reminded that God cares way more than I do about this little event called NYC. And He cares about our Nazarene students, and He cares about connecting with each one of them personally at the event. So those are my two almost three favorite moments that I just have that definitely stand out for me along the way.
Absolutely. So I can kind of relate. I didn't work NYC like you did, but I did for General Assembly.
Yes.
So 2017 opening session, I walked to the back, saw, all of the people there just singing their first worship song. And I did. I cried and was like, you pour your heart and soul into it, and then you see God just meet us there. And it's just something you can't even truly relate to anyone without experiencing it, but
Yeah.
it's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I don't know, you can tell me if we're not, are we allowed to say like where we're going and what you're doing for NYC of 2026?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so NYC 2026 will be in Salt Lake City, July 1st through the 5th of 2026. Our theme is wonder, and just super excited about that theme. I mean, when you just think about the landscape of Salt Lake City is beautiful, and really relates to that. But then, to focus back on scripture and time again in scripture, specifically in the Psalms, right? Psalm 65:8, the whole earth is filled with awe at your wonders. Where morning dawns, where evening fades, you call forth songs of joy. So just being able to set aside and create space for this God who created all the beautiful things in Salt Lake City and all over, but he's still speaking through the beauty of creation. And so really our prayer is that we would ever be filled with wonder at our Creator God, and that as we are secure in our identity as God's masterpieces, as his very own handiwork, that our students would then move through the world to do the good works that he has in store for them.
I love that. That is amazing. I've seen some of the branding and the things you're working on for it, and I think it looks super cool. And I wish I was a student again. This one sounds awesome.
Yes.
Salt Lake City is on my bucket list, so I think it's going to be
beautiful.
It's going to be a really cool event, and I'm very excited for you guys and the students who are going. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
So I know you guys will talk more about this coming later this year, but if you could just like give our listeners a little snippet of why our high school students should attend as Nazarene students, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's like once or maybe twice in a lifetime, right? And there's just nothing else like it. Even if you've been to a General Assembly or a district event or a field event, there is just nothing like it that shows you how big and vast and beautiful the church is, specifically the Church of the Nazarene that we get to be a part of, right? I think one of the highlights for a lot of students is the worship, as you get to fill a room with thousands of other students that are just like you and share an incredible worship. I mean, I have a whole list of reasons. I can keep going. Like, it's fun. You'll get to hear some incredible speakers, and you get to learn about the community and give back. That's one of the things we love about NYC, is our opportunity to serve the city through our ministry with other projects. And so making an impact on such a huge, massive level with thousands of students that come together to serve, right? And it's just an opportunity to encounter God and to be transformed. Like I said earlier, NYC 99 completely changed the trajectory of my life. I was going in a different direction, and it wasn't a bad direction, but it wasn't the direction that God had for my life. So I'm so grateful for that moment in my life, and want to help students have that moment too. I think this 2026 is special for me because my oldest daughter gets to attend as a participant. So I got a little more skin in the game maybe this time. Like, I want it to be an incredible event so that she and all of her friends and all of our students can just encounter God and be transformed.
Amazing. Oh, I hope she has the best time. It's so fun. I know I had a couple at the one I went to years ago. I loved the worship, just worshiping our Heavenly Father all together with, thousands of people my own age. And then also personally, the late night concerts were super fun at 2007 event. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, good deal. So, okay, like I said, they will be talking more about this on the podcast and in other areas, social media and such, later this year. But so keep your ears out, your eyes open for more information coming on that.
Yeah. You
So
can
now,
always go to NazareneYouthConference.com and find more information to follow us on social media. Yeah, we're always putting stuff out there.
great,
Registration's opening this summer for students, so super exciting for sure.
awesome. Well, you guys will be in our prayers for sure. So yeah, we'll help push out that media as well as we can. So. So shifting gears a little bit, let's hear a little bit more about you, Jana, and other areas of ministry in your life. And if you want to talk a little bit, I know you're a mom, like you said, so talking about balancing the ministry and being a mom, I know that can be kind of crazy sometimes. So
Yeah. Yeah, I do love teenagers, and so I do serve in my local church. I'm actually a mentor for ninth grade girls right now, and so that's really fun, having just gone through their transition into high school this last year as they wrap up a school year. So love students, love that. But I also just have a deep love for the local church. And I think that was even something that was a tough loss for me when I transitioned into this ministry role on the regional level at the Global Ministry Center. I love the local church and the relationships and the relational ministry that happens there. I didn't realize I would miss preaching as much as I do too. And so, yeah, always looking for ways, but hanging out with students is so fun. So I love the parts of my job where I get to even go to events and be with students. A lot of my work now is more with adult leaders, which is great too. I love them, but just being with students is fun. So I volunteer, yeah, with our local youth group and love that. I love just supporting our youth pastors and helping them be successful in youth ministry. And I get to practice youth ministry in my home right now. I have a teenager
yeah.
and a preteen. She'll be in middle school next year. So just finding ways and looking for ways to be able to minister to them and their friends, people at their schools. And so love that. But as you said, ministry and mom life, work and mom life can be a tough balance. So I think when I was first starting off, maybe even before I was a mom, but when I first started and my girls were babies, I used to think of this balance as like a completely balanced scale, right? And that's what I was aiming for, where mom life and work life was like completely balanced. And I got really frustrated because I could never get it. Like I couldn't get all
Amen.
pieces of the pie cut equally. And so I just felt automatically like a failure because I wasn't, when you hear people talk about balanced life, that's what I thought it was. But I think I've come as my girls have grown and, they're not so little anymore, but I found that sometimes my kids required more time and sometimes, my church required more time. I think of the time where one of my students his mom passed away. And in those moments of crisis, like he needed a little more time from me. He needed a little more investment in ministry than my own children, maybe even. And so trying to navigate that. So for me, it's kind of always been fluctuating, right? Ensuring that I can be present and spend time on the things that matter to me, but not equal time in everything, but just kind of depending on the day. So that's kind of been what balance has looked like for me. Even when my girls were little, I've always looked for ways to include them into my work and ministry. So they've been to, lots of youth sporting events when they were little and
Yeah.
concerts and things. They would get drugged to those. When we would have students in our home, they would be there until bedtime, and then I'd put them to bed. I remember at our church in Colorado, we did like a big food distribution at Thanksgiving time, and so they would go with me to the grocery store to buy cartfuls of food to supplement that. So I just have always looked for ways to include them. And I know that can be a tricky thing, even with that. And sometimes I look for places where I do need to separate them. For me, when they were little, it was hard to speak or preach when they were in the room, right? Because I felt like I wasn't good at either one, but just trying to look for ways to blend them together. And it's worked for our family. Both my girls love Jesus, they love the church, and um, I think it's really cool. I'm not sure how God is going to use them or call them. From the time that they've been little, when people ask them what they want to be when they grow up, um, they want to be pastors. Like that, the typical things that maybe most kids want to be doesn't occur to them. They want to be what they've seen so many people,
Yeah,
and it just hasn't been a negative experience for them. And so
that's
that's my
amazing.
encouragement, I guess, is to find ways to make it work for you. It might not look like others, but finding ways to make it work for you, because I do think we can raise our children in the church to have a love of God in the church.
I love that. That is so great. That's so cute. And I really resonate with what you said about the balance not being equal. Um, yeah, I have a 4 2-year old and a newborn right now. So my attention is very much on the kids at times. And honestly, I feel like I'm, with work, not always carrying my weight or like I need to spend more time doing this. But thank you for sharing that. That's super great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've noticed with you, Sarah, but also I remember when my kids were little, like nap time when they'd go to bed. So there was a period of time where my husband worked nights and my kids were in bed. So people at my church would laugh at me because they would get emails between like 9 and 11 o'clock at night, and like, who works those hours? But that is what worked for me, right? It
Yep.
wasn't taking away from my family time. So obviously you want to have boundaries and not just be doing that all the time, but that's
Right.
what worked for me in that season of my life. Now, come 7 o'clock, you're probably not going to get any emails from me after that because
And you know
I'm,
what? That's great too.
yep,
But you're right. You and everyone who I've probably talked to in the last probably couple of years, you get emails from me probably after 9 p.m. So
yep.
apologies for that. But yeah, that's
Nope,
the
it
season
worked.
I'm in. And yeah, you do what you got to do when it works. And right now that's what's working for me. So
Yeah.
anyway, thanks. That's funny. It's true. I send really late emails and my boss sends really early emails. So sometimes that's kind of funny too. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So um, let's move on to talking a little bit more about you. Thanks for sharing about your ministry, but let's just hear some fun facts about you. If you want to tell us a couple of things that when we're meeting Jana, what you want people to know.
Yeah. Um, I don't feel like a very exciting person. But I don't like coffee. I don't know if that, I remember people telling me like, oh, one day you'll like coffee, when you go to college, you'll start liking coffee. Nope, went to college and like coffee. Oh, when you have kids, you'll like coffee. Got two of them, don't like coffee. And then I remember people being like, oh, well, grad school is when I like started liking coffee. I'm finishing up my master's degree this week and I still don't like
Don't like
coffee.
coffee.
So there's a lot of other drinks with caffeine in them that are not healthy for you, lots of sugar that I will drink, but coffee is not one of them. So
Hey,
Dr.
nothing wrong with
Pepper,
that.
give me sweet tea, but no coffee. Um,
So funny.
let's see other fun facts. Um, we love to play games in our house, so that's like a fun night for us to do, dessert and games or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Board games,
Board games, card
games, card
games.
games. Cool.
I don't know that we're in too much to like the strategy games. Maybe as my girls get older, we'll kind of shift to those. But yeah. Yeah, Sky Joe, Phase 10.
Oh
No,
yeah.
those are some of our favorite games. So it's really fun.
Awesome.
Um, yeah. Let's see.
Those are great facts.
Okay. I mean, confession, if you want confession from Jana. I work from home typically on Fridays, and I have developed an addiction of when I go over my lunch break, I will go pick up my groceries, and it's right next to a McDonald's. And on Fridays, McDonald's and their app have free fries if you like make a purchase. So my
Yeah, they
lunch
do.
on Fridays way too often consists of a large fry and a sweet tea from McDonald's.
Oh,
And I like
dude,
never
I'm
tell
right there with you.
anybody. The evidence is gone before my family gets home. But
That's amazing.
it's become an addiction that I feed most Fridays. So
That is a quality snack, let me tell you. McDonald's sweet tea is nice.
uh-huh. Yep.
Awesome. That's so fun.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Jana. Like, this has been a lot of fun, and I've really, really enjoyed our chat today. Like I said earlier, we'll be talking more about NYC and getting excited for that. So if you have any questions, like I think you said earlier, you can reach out to the NYI department, and registration starts this summer. So yeah, thanks again, Jana.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks, Sarah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Holiness Today podcast. If you enjoyed this production and wish to hear more, visit holinesstoday.org/podcast or find us on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.